Well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, but you never know when a notification will come in. Excuse me. Well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm reviewing a movie. I just got done watching my pick for the letter I, Lindsay Lohan's I Know Who Killed Me. Yes, and you're going to think it's weird, but I actually sought out this movie because Cinematic Excrement, he did a video on this, and I'm like, I usually watch his videos without watching the movie, but I've been intrigued by this movie since it came out in 2007. So let's go back to 2007. Scotty was a mere 20 years old, okay? This movie came out. I didn't see it, but I saw the trailers. And the name, I thought it was a stupid name for a movie. Now that I've watched it, I think it's even worse as a name, because it makes no sense. I was never interested in it. But I always knew about it. I was always intrigued as to what it meant, you know. But I never had any intrigue to watch it until that popped up in my my subscriptions, and I went, you know, I usually just go ahead and watch his videos, but I think this time I'm gonna actually get the movie. So I sought out the movie on eBay, specifically watch it, and so I was going to watch it right away, and then I decided to reboot my ABC review series, and I put this as the I pick, so I had to wait. So I've watched this, and I've watched his review. He brought up some points, and I'm talking about apparently this was nominated, and I looked it up. As you do. It was nominated because I figured, because he's reviewing every Worst Picture nominee, every Worst Picture Razzie nominee, or winner, Worst Picture Razzie winner. And I figured that it won that, but there are other awards, and we'll get to it. But this movie stars Lindsay Lohan, this Aubrey Fleming, a girl who is kidnapped and by a serial killer and then found on the side of the road. The FBI, they think she's escaped from this killer, but when she wakes up, she has amnesia. But not only that, she believes she's someone else, and there's a big mystery surrounding what's actually going on. So, yes. So like I said, Lindsay Lohan plays Aubrey Fleming. She's a teenage girl. This was Lindsay Lohan's first big, like, grown-up picture. She's been in stuff like Mean Girls and Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen and Get a Clue and Parent Trap. Before this, all mostly Disney Channel except for Mean Girls, or Disney films except for Mean Girls. But this was her first big, you know, rated R, right? Rated R and stuff like that. So she's growing up, I guess, and I guess she was having some problems going into rehab. This is like one of the first of a million times going to rehab, but I remember hearing about that. I'm like, really? You know, Disney stars, they don't I don't want to put the blame on Disney, but it seems like more often than not, Disney Channel stars, they don't come out of that very well. Look at it. Lindsay Lohan, Selena Gomez, Miley Cyrus, Shia LaBeouf. I mean, come on. They've all had personal problems, and they all were on Disney Channel, so who knows? But she's with their piano teacher, and she decides she's going to quit, and he gets pissed and leaves in a huff. I mention that because it is important to the plot, and but this, yeah. So Aubrey goes out with her friends to a football game, and she wants to meet her boyfriend, but when the boyfriend shows up, he meets her friends, and they think that she's with him, but he has no idea where she is, and she's gone missing. I should also mention this, because they will mention it later, that Aubrey has been writing stories about being a stripper named Dakota and living a different life. Those come back too, but so yes, so it takes a few days as their FBI is trying to find her, and FBI agents, one played by Garcia Bovies. Sorry if I not mispronounced her name. She was in a Jamie Foxx show and White House Down, ironically playing Jamie Foxx's wife. And the other FBI agent is, I don't remember his name, the actor's name, but I call him the Sweet Peter on a Popsicle Stick guy from Supernatural. He's in the Christmas episode of Supernatural. I forgot to watch that this year. But he goes, Sweet Peter on a Popsicle Stick. So every time I see him, I said, he's been in a million things, but every time I see him, I think of that. Sweet Peter on a Popsicle Stick. But yeah, and they're doing the investigation. And then a woman just so happens to be a bad driver and finds Aubrey, so we think, on the side of the road with one of her arms and one of her legs totally mutilated. We see like certain things like put dry ice on her hand and stuff like that. Which, okay, the gore scenes in this film, I'm usually desensitized to gore scenes in movies, but the gore scenes in this movie, they're torture gore scenes. And that kind of thing makes me go, I had to look away quite a few times with this, because it's just so, yeah. But, yes, and so she wakes up in the hospital, and they've cut off the rest of her arm so that it's not, and the rest of her leg. She wakes up, and her parents show up, and they're like, Aubrey, and she says, who's Aubrey? She claims to be a woman named Dakota Moss, the daughter of a crack addict who recently died a few months earlier. She tells her entire story. And one of the most frustrating things in this movie is that I could tell from the very beginning she started talking about herself that she was telling the truth. So I'm like, okay. But like, because they frame it where she's telling her story about what happened. And she's a stripper. So you're supposed to believe that the story she was writing has messed with her head. And she believes she's the character in her story. The problem is, Lindsay Lohan is such a good actress, and I'm defending her, that she makes shows that her character firmly believes that she is Dakota. So much that there's no question in your mind that she's telling the truth. She's so firm, she's so, firm in her stance that she is Dakota that you're like, yeah, there has to be some kind of plot twist here. And indeed, there is. But the cops and even the parents just keep insisting she's delusional, or the alter ego has taken over her mind. Stuff like that. They won't believe anything. Except for the dad, and we'll get to him. Dad is played by Neil McDonough, by the way. You may know him from Star Trek First Contact, or the Arrowverse, or a few other things, but yeah. So, as Dakota begins her research trying to figure out what's going on, boyfriend shows up. Aubrey's boyfriend shows up, and she decides to have sex with him. With the mom is in the house, and we have this scene that's supposed to be funny, and indeed the Smeghead, he cinematic journeys, cinematic excrement, this maghead. He said it was intentionally funny. I found it disturbingly awkward. I didn't really laugh. I did laugh when she's... Cause, okay, so what happens is... So they give her a robotic hand and a robotic leg, and they tell her, you better charge the leg, and there's even a hint that she keeps forgetting to charge it, but I'm like, okay, so that's going to come around for something. Not really, but boyfriend comes over, and she takes him upstairs, and she has sex with him. All the while, the mom is downstairs in the kitchen, trying to clean to keep her, because she can hear them upstairs, to keep away from it. And the only part I really laughed is when she has the little yellow sponge thing. It's going squeaking on the thing, and that made me laugh. But yeah, but it's not like she just did this to have sex with him. She did it because he even asked, "Why'd you have sex with me?" She goes, "Did she fuck you? Did you think she, did she ever say she was going to?" She's trying to prove a point that, but he helps her get out so she can talk to the parents of the first girl that disappeared, or at least one of the girls. Supposedly she's the first girl, but then supposedly not, because they list other victims, I guess. I don't know. And upon her investigation, she finds certain things looking in her room, and you notice that this other girl's room is blue just like Aubrey's. So is there a connection? Maybe. But, yes. Aubrey confronts the mom and says, or not Aubrey, but Dakota confronts the mom and says, she thinks she's a twin, a stigmatic twin, which I don't know if it's real, but according to this movie, stigmatic twins are, if one of them gets hurt, the other one feels the pain or feels, the wound. There's a story about this one guy and his brother, and this guy got shot in the neck, in the throat, and the other guy also died in his sleep from a shot to the throat. And so basically what they're trying to say is everything that happens to Aubrey is happening to Dakota. And indeed we find out that this is the truth. Apparently, when Aubrey's mother went to give birth, the baby died, but old Papa Daniel decided not to tell his wife and instead paid off the crack addict down the hall to take one of her babies and call it their own. And somehow there was also a vacation where they were both there. I don't know, that's one of the most confusing parts of this, is that she shows her a picture of Aubrey as a kid in a swimsuit, and she's like, how did you know I was there? I had a brown one, and then I'm like, okay, maybe she just came cute. Then they show in her head, she sees they're standing next to each other, but if that was the case, you'd think the parent or the mom would have seen another girl that looks like her daughter. I don't understand. Unless she was just visualizing it. I don't know. But let's talk about the color, because the director, whose name is Chris Sivertson, he decided that he was going to have different colors. Apparently, this is what the Smeghead said, and I kind of get it. But apparently, the colors are supposed to represent the twins. Blue for Aubrey, red for Dakota. Problem is, the colors swap over each other so much, it's hard to even figure out what it's trying to say. Yes. But yes, so she confronts Daniel, Aubrey's dad, about it, and he tells her to shush, and he keeps saying, you're Aubrey, like, you can't say anything, you're Aubrey, because even though his real daughter might be in trouble, he'd rather keep the lie so he doesn't get found out. But, so he knew this wasn't his daughter. Especially when she started to explain who she was, he knew it wasn't his daughter, but he continued to pretend it was so he doesn't get out of something he did when they were babies. I'm sorry, but when she starts to explain what's going on, you need to fess up, because if he fessed up, they could have both helped the police using the stigmatic part of the twins thing where she sort of sees visions and hears voices, I guess. She could have helped them find the real one. But no, he kept his mouth shut and no one would believe her, so we had a movie. And this movie is an hour and... it's 106 minutes. Hour and 46 minutes. And it feels long. There's a lot of just sitting there and her trying to explain what's going on and they don't believe her. Yeah, it's... So we get to the climax of this film, right? She figures out that the killer is the piano teacher. Because... yeah. So they track him down, and Danielle gets killed off screen. Okay. And then she initiates a chase with the piano teacher, and her leg does not die here, even though you think it would. She chops off his hand, which, because he's a piano teacher, he gets really pissed off at it and starts screaming, asking how she escaped because he buried her alive. We get hints at it when they're on their way there. She has problems breathing. Problem is, that wouldn't go away. We are shown that whenever something happens to Aubrey, it happens to Dakota. Like simultaneously, like right away. Same time. Yet, if Aubrey was having trouble breathing, it would be constant. She'd have trouble breathing until she couldn't breathe anymore. But it goes in and out for Dakota because we have to have her find her way there. It just doesn't work. But yeah, so Dakota is able to kill the piano teacher and somehow find Aubrey buried in a glass coffin, breaks her out, and we end with them laying on the ground. Here's another big problem with this movie, and it's nothing like it maybe superficial, but here's the thing. Lindsay Lohan had a no nudity contract. No nudity clause in her contract. That's not a big problem. You don't want to show some skin. You don't have to show any skin. The problem with that, though, is she was cast as a stripper. The Dakota character, one of the two characters she plays, is a stripper. Now, I've seen stripper scenes where the strippers don't take off clothes and they just dance around the pole in a bra and panties type deal, which is what she does. The only problem is, she is the only one of the strippers that does this. Every single other one of them are topless or naked or something. So, being that she has a non-nudity clause in her contract, and she has to do a striptease with a bra and panty on because she can't get naked, but you have other naked women around her, it makes her look stupid. And you may be asking, wait a minute, aren't the twins under the age of 18? You would be correct. They're supposed to be 17 years old. However, Dakota has a fake ID, and the owner of the strip club, also a woman, doesn't care if the card says she's 21, then she's 21. Lady, that's how you go to jail. I'm just saying. Technically, she's not naked, so who knows? But even 17 in your underwear, that's still not legal. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of weird. And I was like, why isn't she naked? And we see sort of some skin during the sex scene, in which I thought I was seeing things, but even as Meg had pointed out, her bra is like off in one scene, and then in one part, and the very next part it's back on again because they probably filmed it out of order. It's a magic bra, people. But when you see much of anything, of course, yeah, this movie is... I could see why it won Worst Picture at the Razzies. Among other nominations, it won 7 of them out of 8 nominations. Including Worst Actress for Lindsay Lohan and Lindsay Lohan. Which I don't agree on because I thought she was pretty good. Worst On-Screen Couple for Lindsay Lohan and Lindsay Lohan. Worst Ripoff for apparently ripping off Hostel. Was it Hostel, Saw, and the Patty Duke Show? I don't get Patty Duke Show. I don't even know if Saw was the other one, but yeah. Of course, it won Worst Picture, but that horrible Bratz movie came out that year, which I haven't seen, have no interest in, but I don't know. Yeah, I can see why it won the Razzie for Worst Film. It's not a good movie. Would I ever watch it again? Maybe, if I just want to put something on in the background and not worry about paying attention. But as it pertains to this film, what do I say about it? Well, it doesn't piss me off enough to let it fry in hell. But also, there's not enough good and bad in it for it to be mixed either. And of course, it's not good. So I guess I'd say that when it comes to I Know Who Killed Me, it's not worth your time. It's not worth your time. It just... No, I skip it. So what are your thoughts on I Know Who Killed Me? And like I said, it's a stupid name because she says I know who killed me. And even they point out, well, but you're not dead. And it's like, okay, if your characters in the movie were pointing it out, then it's probably a stupid name. And she doesn't actually die, so, you know. Yeah, so next we'll go to the letter J, which brings us back to the muscles with Brussels. Muscles from Brussels, excuse me. And this time, he is in a bank. Playing himself. And being framed for robbing a bank or something. I don't know, I've never seen this one. So I don't really know exactly what goes on in this movie, but we'll see. Until then, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.